Hello, my friends. It is Monday, June 17th. Here are the three big stories for today. I apologize in advance. I have a bit of a sore throat, but I'm going to try to get through this. Close to zero. Kremlin dismisses outcome of Ukraine talks held without Russia. So we're talking about the peace summit. What were the impacts or the outcomes of the peace summit? Well, Dmitry Peskov says there was close to zero. Peskov was asked if the fact that countries such as Hungary, Serbia, and Turkey had taken part in the meeting and signed a statement that would spoil Russia's relation with them. He said, no, we'll consider what was going on. And he said, if we talk about the overall effectiveness of the meeting, though, it is close to zero. So that's their official statement, although they were really not happy about the conference, which is why they had the other alternative peace plan put out ahead of it to kind of change the narrative. Peskov said that what he called Putin's peace initiative remained on the table. Now, the peace initiative of Putin was, we get to keep all the land we stole and you can't join NATO. So that's hardly a peace initiative. But they reaffirmed Moscow's position that it was open to dialogue. Okay. With that, here's what German Chancellor Scholz said about that at the peace conference. He said, how to end Russia's war against Ukraine and achieve a just and lasting peace? Peace is more than the absence of war. And an immediate ceasefire without serious negotiations, without a roadmap toward a just and lasting peace, merely on the basis of so-called new realities, simply would only legitimize Russia's illegal land grab, and in the end, this would result in yet another frozen conflict. Scholz gets it. That's spot on. That's exactly right. Well done. Japan is to strengthen support for Ukraine in the energy sector and mine clearance. So another outcome of this conference was Japan's going to increase its support for Ukraine in the energy sector, mine clearance. As he noted, this is the Japanese Prime Minister Prime Minister Kishida. Japan, from the very beginning of Russia's aggression against Ukraine, imposed strict sanctions on Russia and provided strong support to the Ukrainian people, considering that Ukraine today may be East Asia tomorrow. See how they're getting it? You can hear in the statements, and I'm highlighting these particular ones because what Scholz just said and what Kishida just said, spot on. They understand the stakes. Okay, Zelensky and the president of Ghana instruct teams from both countries to begin working on ensuring food export to Ghana. This is important. Now, this is also at the Global Peace Summit. They met, and he thanked Ghana for supporting Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity from the first days of the full-scale Russian invasion, in particular during the voting during the UN General Assembly resolutions. A lot of African nations just stood off on the sideline at that time. Ghana did not. Now, to export to Ghana is going to be important for both Ghana and for Ukraine, and so this is a win-win kind of situation. They get it. Okay, switching gears to the second big story. Nuclear saber rattling. This time is coming from NATO. It's not a threat, it's just, okay, here's what's happening. NATO in talks to put nuclear weapons on standby, says Jens Stoltenberg. NATO is in talks to deploy more nuclear weapons, taking them out of storage and placing them on standby in the face of a growing threat from Russia and China, the head of the alliance said on Monday. So he's increasing the temperature or increasing the pressure. Of course, Putin's not going to like that at all. The Kremlin calls NATO's chief nuclear weapons remark an escalation of tensions. But of course, the Russians do this all the time. I mean, they're constantly, intentionally escalating tensions, saber rattling and saber rattling and saber rattling about nuclear weapons. The Kremlin said on Monday, a remark by NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg, that the military alliance was holding talks on deploying more nuclear weapons was an escalation of tension. So global spending on nuclear weapons is up 13% around the world, and the U.S. is leading that charge. Global spending on nuclear weapons is estimated to have increased 13% to a record $91.4 billion in 2023. A new total, which is up $10.7 billion from the previous year, is driven largely by sharply increased defense budgets in the U.S. All 9 of the world's nuclear-armed nations are spending more. And when we say all 9, that's just 9 for now. What happens if Ukraine loses? Like the memo has gone out to leaders all around the world. The reason that Russia invaded Ukraine was because they didn't have the nuclear weapons that Russia had, right? I think it's going to be more than 9 nations before too long that have nuclear weapons. Here's the U.S. leading China, Russia, UK, France, India, Israel. Okay, so you can see how that's. Here's the U.S., China, Russia is in third place here with the extra spending on nuclear weapons. Putin extends defense ministry purge, hands job to a relative. There's two stories embedded in this. The first is that the purge of high-ranking Russian military officials is ongoing. Remember, a number of generals have been put in the clink in the last, I don't know, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, something like that. Russian President Vladimir Putin sacked 4 deputy defense ministers on Monday, another 4, and appointed a relative to fill one of the resulting vacancies. So another 4 are out, and he appointed Anna Tsleva, the daughter of his late cousin, as Deputy Defense Minister, whose responsibilities will include improving social and housing support for military personnel. Her husband is Russia's energy minister. Okay, so she's way connected. And now the reason that leaders engage in nepotism, and this is particularly true with authoritarian leaders engaging in nepotism, is because there's an extra layer of trust there with the relatives. You can't convince me that, for example, Kadyrov, who appointed his one son and minister of sport and another son as the head of he's like 16 years old and he's in charge of the Special Forces training unit in Chechnya. You can't convince me that's because of merit, right? They're in charge because they're trusted because they're relatives, and that's what's going on here. He doesn't know who to trust. Okay. Putin will arrive in North Korea tomorrow, that's actually today now, and stay there for 2 days, Russian state media reported. There's a number of articles about this. Here's Newsweek talking about Putin in North Korea. Why is Putin really going to North Korea? Over the past week, North Korea watchers had hinted that the visit was imminent, and satellite images had captured apparent preparations underway in Pyongyang. The visit will mark Putin's second trip as president to the Hermit Kingdom in 25 years. And so these are recent interactions. But as Russia faces increasing pressure from the West due to its invasion of Ukraine, experts believe the visit has much more to do with Russia's need for weaponry. Now, remember, they were just getting 4.8 upwards of potentially, according to the South Korea government, upwards of 4.8 million artillery rounds is what they could have packed into that container ship. We don't know if that is it or not, but that's the speculation from South Korea. It's unclear what Kim Jong-un and North Korea might receive in return. Some speculation suggests that North Korea might seek Russian aircraft to upgrade its outdated air force. Of course, Russia's slowly losing its aircraft, so that might not be the best deal, as well as cash and grain. Now, cash and grain, that makes a lot of sense, as well as potentially some technology. The trip also comes at a time when North Korea seeks advanced technology and military support, such as spy satellites, which Russia has pledged to assist with, according to Newsweek. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said in January that Moscow and Pyongyang are developing their cooperation in all areas, including sensitive ones. The partnership is very important to Russia. It's a win-win deal for Russia and for North Korea. I mean, they're both benefiting, but I think Putin actually needs it more than Kim does, which is an unbelievably weird thing to be saying, but that is true. Putin does need Kim more than Kim needs Putin. Okay, last little bit, nuclear threat. Yeah, when Putin cheerleads for nuclear saber rattling, he's fine with it. But when Stoltenberg says anything about it, that's an escalation of tension. This is terrible. Okay, well, you see the double standards. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.